I'm Introduction. Setting the scene. The land of Canaan and the significance of Isaac's lineage as Abraham's son. The story begins in the ancient land of Canaan, a fertile yet rugged region that serves as the backdrop for many pivotal moments in biblical history. Canaan holds deep significance as the land God promised to Abraham and his descendants, making it central to the unfolding narrative of the chosen people. Isaac, the son of Abraham and Sarah, is living in Canaan as the direct heir to God's covenant with Abraham. This promise included not only the possession of land, but also the blessing of countless descendants who would form a great nation through whom all nations would be blessed. As Abraham's only son with Sarah, Isaac symbolizes the continuation of this divine promise, and his lineage is crucial for the fulfillment of God's plan. The weight of this responsibility is significant, as Isaac carries the legacy of faith passed down from Abraham, making his role in God's divine plan critical. The yearning for an heir. Isaac and Rebekah's prayers for children. Despite their privileged position in God's covenant, Isaac and Rebekah face a deeply personal struggle. Rebekah is barren, and they are without children. This absence of an heir creates tension, as the promise of God's covenant hinges on the continuation of Abraham's line through Isaac. The couple's longing for children is not only an emotional burden, but also a spiritual one, as they are aware that without an heir, God's promise would seem at risk. Isaac, following in his father's footsteps, turns to prayer, seeking divine intervention. Their yearning reflects not only their personal desires as a couple, but also a profound faith in God's promises. After years of prayer and waiting, their hopes are finally answered when Rebekah becomes pregnant, signaling a new chapter in the unfolding of God's plan for their family and future generations. Overview of Esau and Jacob. Contrasting characters and larger themes. With Rebekah's pregnancy, the stage is set for the birth of twin sons, Esau and Jacob, whose lives will be marked by contrast and conflict. Even in the womb their struggle is evident, as they wrestle within Rebekah, foreshadowing the strife that will define their relationship. Esau, the firstborn, emerges with a rugged, hairy appearance, embodying strength, impulsiveness, and a connection to the physical world. He is a skilled hunter, favored by his father Isaac for his prowess and masculine vitality. On the other hand, Jacob, the second-born, is quieter, reflective, and more spiritually inclined. Unlike his brother, Jacob prefers to dwell in tents, symbolizing a life of contemplation and domesticity. He is favored by his mother Rebekah, who recognizes his spiritual potential and the divine prophecy that the older will serve the younger. These contrasting characters set the stage for a larger narrative about choices, consequences, and reconciliation. Esau's impulsive decisions, such as selling his birthright for a mere meal, contrast sharply with Jacob's calculated moves to secure both the birthright and blessing. Their story explores themes of destiny versus free will, the weight of inheritance, and the dynamics of family favoritism. Despite their deep divisions and rivalry, the story also foreshadows future moments of reconciliation, offering a reflection on the possibility of healing even the most broken of relationships. Through the lives of Esau and Jacob, the biblical narrative delves into the complexities of human nature, the consequences of actions, and the unfolding of God's divine plan across generations. Second, divine revelation to Rebekah's unusual pregnancy. As Rebekah carried her long-awaited children, she began to experience intense agitation within her womb, far beyond the normal movements expected during pregnancy. The struggle within her was so violent and continuous that it caused her great concern. It felt as if the children inside were already battling each other, a struggle that left Rebekah both physically and emotionally distressed. This unusual activity led her to seek divine guidance, asking God why this was happening to her. God's prophecy. In response to her plea, God revealed to Rebekah a profound and mysterious prophecy. He told her that she was carrying twins, but these children would not simply be brothers. They would become the fathers of two separate nations whose destinies were intertwined yet marked by conflict. These nations, represented by Esau and Jacob, would be in opposition from birth. The prophecy further revealed an unexpected twist in the typical cultural order. The older will serve the younger. This reversal of roles was significant, as the firstborn traditionally held the birthright and family leadership. However, God's declaration indicated that Jacob, the younger twin, would surpass Esau in prominence and authority, thus altering the course of their family's history. This divine message foreshadowed not only the personal rivalry between the brothers, but also the larger historical and spiritual conflicts between their descendants, the Edomites from Esau and the Israelites from Jacob. The prophecy emphasized the unfolding of God's sovereign plan, showing that his choices often defy human expectations. The birth of Esau and Jacob. The birth of Esau and Jacob is a pivotal moment in biblical history, marking the beginning of a complex relationship between the two brothers, whose contrasting personalities and destinies are evident from the moment they enter the world. Esau's rugged appearance. Esau, the firstborn, emerges with a unique and striking physical appearance. He's described as being covered with a thick coat of reddish hair, almost as if he were fully grown. This rugged, wild look not only sets him apart visually, but also foreshadows his future as a man of the wilderness, strong, instinctual, and untamed. Esau's name, meaning hairy in Hebrew, reflects this distinctive feature. The redness of his hair might also hint at his passionate, impulsive nature, a man driven by his physical needs and desires, which will later manifest in his decision-making. Jacob grasping Esau's heel. As Esau is being born, Jacob follows closely behind, gripping Esau's heel in a symbolic gesture that hints at their future rivalry. This act of Jacob trying to hold on to his brother, even from birth, is a subtle but profound indication of the power dynamics and tension that will later define their relationship. Jacob's name, which can mean heel-grabber or supplanter, suggests his future role in overtaking Esau, both in terms of inheritance and divine blessing. This moment encapsulates the idea of struggle, not only between the two brothers but also their descendants, representing nations that will conflict with each other throughout history. Contrasting natures. As they grow, the differences between Esau and Jacob become more pronounced. Esau develops into a man of action, a skilled hunter who thrives in the wild. His physical strength and connection to the land align him with traditional masculine traits of strength, independence, and survival. He is driven by his desires and instincts, living in the moment with little regard for future consequences, as will be evident when he impulsively trades his birthright for a meal. Jacob, in contrast, is a quieter, more contemplative figure. Described as a plain or peaceful man, he prefers the company of his family and stays close to home, developing a deep connection to spiritual matters. Unlike his brother, Jacob is thoughtful and strategic, looking ahead and considering long-term consequences. His reflective nature and closeness to his mother Rebekah also suggest an affinity for the more subtle, spiritual aspects of life. This stark difference between Esau's physicality and Jacob's intellectual and spiritual focus sets the stage for their future interactions, where the struggle for both birthright and blessing will take center stage. In summary, the birth of Esau and Jacob introduces two brothers whose personalities, even from birth, are destined to conflict. Esau, the rugged, impulsive hunter, and Jacob, the quiet, calculating thinker, embody opposing forces, each representing different paths that will impact not only their lives, but the future of nations. Their contrasting natures are rooted in this dramatic entry into the world, foreshadowing the spiritual and familial battles to come. Fourth, family dynamics and parental preferences. In the story of Esau and Jacob, the dynamics within their family are defined by distinct parental preferences that play a significant role in shaping the narrative and future events. Isaac, the father, gravitates toward Esau, while Rebekah, the mother, forms a closer bond with Jacob. These parental biases not only reflect their individual dispositions, but also set the stage for conflicts between the brothers and for the unfolding of divine prophecy. Isaac's preference for Esau, Isaac, the patriarch of the family, favors Esau, his eldest son, primarily because of Esau's physical strength and prowess as a hunter. Esau embodies the qualities of a man's man, someone who can provide food for the family by skillfully navigating the wilderness and bringing home game. Isaac, perhaps in his later years, finds admiration and pride in Esau's rugged, active nature, which reflects a traditional masculine ideal of strength and self-sufficiency. This preference is also likely tied to the cultural significance of the firstborn in ancient times, where the eldest son was often expected to carry on the family legacy. Isaac's favoritism toward Esau may also stem from his own experiences. Having lived a life defined by quiet devotion and continuity of the Abrahamic covenant, Isaac might see in Esau the physical strength that he himself lacked. Esau's robust personality offers Isaac a sense of comfort, as Esau seems more capable of defending and sustaining the family. Isaac's fondness for Esau grows deeper as Esau prepares meals for his father, further strengthening their bond over shared experiences. Rebekah's affection for Jacob. Rebekah, on the other hand, finds herself more closely aligned with Jacob, her younger son. Unlike Esau, Jacob is described as a more quiet and introspective man, preferring to stay near the tents rather than venture into the wild. Rebekah's attachment to Jacob is not merely emotional, but deeply rooted in her understanding of his spiritual potential. Having received a divine prophecy during her pregnancy, Rebekah knows that Jacob is destined for greatness. God's revelation to her that the older son would serve the younger shapes her perspective and affection for Jacob. Rebekah likely sees in Jacob a reflection of her own spiritual sensitivity. She recognizes his thoughtful nature and his potential for leadership in a way that transcends physical strength. In contrast to Isaac's focus on Esau's ability to hunt and provide materially, Rebekah appreciates Jacob's qualities of wisdom, calculation, and receptivity to divine guidance. Her preference for Jacob becomes a driving force in the story, leading her to intervene and secure the patriarchal blessing for him, knowing that his spiritual destiny aligns with God's plans for the family. Malachi's prophecy, I loved Jacob, but hated Esau. The parental favoritism is echoed and magnified in the divine perspective found in Malachi's prophecy, where God declares, I loved Jacob but hated Esau. Malachi 1:2-3. This stark statement underscores the broader theological implications of the family dynamics. The term hated in this context is not understood as literal hatred, but as a reflection of God's sovereign choice and favor for Jacob over Esau. From a spiritual perspective, the prophecy reveals that God's plan for the covenantal blessing and the continuation of the chosen lineage was never based on human preferences or merit. It was part of a divine plan that transcends the natural order of things, where the younger Jacob, despite his quiet nature and less dominant position, would carry forward the spiritual legacy of Abraham. This prophecy reflects the theme of divine election, where God chooses individuals for specific purposes, often in ways that defy societal norms. It also suggests the unfolding of larger cosmic and spiritual battles where Jacob, though less outwardly impressive than Esau, was the one chosen to lead God's people. The implications of this divine preference ripple through history, shaping the destiny of nations as Esau's descendants become the Edomites, often at odds with Israel, the nation that would emerge from Jacob's lineage. In summary, the parental preferences within the family of Isaac and Rebekah mirror the broader divine favor shown to Jacob. While Isaac sees in Esau a strong and capable provider, Rebekah discerns Jacob's spiritual calling. Malachi's prophecy highlights that God's choices often go beyond human expectations, and in this case, it is Jacob, the quiet and reflective son, who becomes the bearer of the covenant. These dynamics lay the groundwork for future tensions and the fulfillment of God's plan for the chosen people. V. The significance of the birthright. The birthright in ancient Near Eastern culture, especially within the biblical narrative, held immense importance both in terms of material inheritance and spiritual legacy. It was more than just a simple passing on of possessions. It represented a family's continuity, authority, and divine purpose. Cultural importance. In patriarchal societies, the birthright was traditionally given to the firstborn son. This privileged status ensured that the eldest received a double portion of the inheritance compared to his siblings. Beyond wealth and property, however, the birthright carried immense spiritual responsibility. In the context of Isaac's family, the birthright was deeply tied to God's covenant with Abraham, which promised not only material blessings like land and prosperity, but also a divine legacy. The heir of the birthright would carry forward God's promises, becoming the leader of the family and its spiritual representative. This position of authority meant the firstborn would guide the household in faith and continue the lineage that was central to God's unfolding plan for the people of Israel. For Esau, inheriting the birthright from Isaac meant he was destined to lead his family and inherit the blessings bestowed by God upon Abraham. This was no ordinary inheritance. It was intertwined with the fate of nations and the unfolding of God's will. The future of God's covenant people, the Israelites, was at stake, making the birthright a matter of profound significance. Esau's carelessness. Esau's attitude toward his birthright reveals much about his character. Despite the magnitude of what was at stake, he treated the birthright with casual indifference. When he returned from hunting, exhausted and hungry, Jacob offered him a simple meal of lentil stew in exchange for his birthright. Without hesitation, Esau agreed to the trade. His impulsiveness in that moment, choosing immediate gratification over long-term blessing, demonstrated his lack of foresight and understanding of the true value of what he possessed. Esau's carelessness highlights his inability to appreciate the spiritual and familial weight of the birthright. Rather than treasuring his role in continuing God's covenant, he traded it for a temporary, physical need. This decision symbolized his impulsiveness and short-sightedness, choosing what satisfied him in the moment rather than considering the far-reaching consequences. His choice would not only affect his future, but also shape the destinies of his descendants, creating a division between him and Jacob that reverberated throughout biblical history. In this act, Esau lost more than just material wealth. He forfeited his place in God's covenant and the spiritual responsibilities that came with it. His disregard for the birthright contrasted sharply with Jacob's calculated ambition and deep appreciation for its significance. Jacob, though not the firstborn, recognized the immense value of the birthright and, through his actions, secured it for himself, altering the course of biblical history. The sale of the birthright. This pivotal moment in Esau and Jacob's story illustrates two contrasting personalities, Esau's impulsiveness and Jacob's strategic foresight. Esau's desperation. Esau returns from the field one day, exhausted and famished after what must have been an unsuccessful hunting expedition. He is so overcome by hunger that he feels as though he might die. In this state of desperation, Esau stumbles upon his brother Jacob, who is cooking a pot of red lentil stew. Overcome by his immediate need, Esau begs Jacob for some of the food, caring little about anything else in that moment, but quenching his hunger. This scene highlights Esau's impulsive nature. He is someone who lives for the moment, driven by his physical desires without regard for the future. His hunger is so overwhelming that it clouds his judgment, leading him to make a hasty decision. When Jacob seizes the opportunity and demands Esau's birthright in exchange for the meal, Esau, in his desperation, agrees, showing no awareness of the long-term consequences. This reflects Esau's disregard for the value of his birthright, which includes both material wealth and spiritual legacy. Jacob's calculating nature. Jacob, on the other hand, reveals a very different character. He has been observant, waiting for the right moment to gain an advantage over his older brother. Though Esau, as the firstborn, is entitled to the birthright, Jacob understands its value far more than Esau does. While Esau is governed by his physical needs, Jacob operates on a different level, calculating his moves and anticipating opportunities. Jacob's willingness to take advantage of his brother's moment of weakness reveals a shrewd, almost opportunistic side of his character. He doesn't hesitate to demand something as significant as the birthright in exchange for a simple meal. In doing so, he shows a deep understanding of the importance of legacy and inheritance. But his methods are morally questionable. Rather than wait for the birthright to come to him naturally, Jacob manipulates the situation to secure it early, taking advantage of Esau's vulnerability. This exchange not only sets the tone for future conflict between the brothers, but also serves as a reflection of their differing values. Esau, focused on the present moment, and Jacob, concerned with the future and willing to use any means necessary to achieve his goals. It also foreshadows the larger role that Jacob will play in the unfolding story of Israel's patriarchs, while Esau's impulsiveness leads him to lose out on the spiritual and material inheritance that could have been his. Seventh, Esau's marriages and familial tensions. Esau's marriages to Hittite women. Esau's decision to marry two Hittite women, Judith and Basemath, was a significant point of tension within his family, particularly with his parents, Isaac and Rebekah. The Hittites were part of the Canaanite tribes, and their customs and religious practices were drastically different from those of Isaac's family, which was rooted in the worship of Yahweh and the covenant with Abraham. Esau's choice reflected a disregard for the spiritual and cultural values his family upheld, and this created deep sorrow and distress for his parents, especially Rebekah, who had hoped for their sons to marry within their own cultural and religious heritage. These marriages were not merely personal choices, but carried broader implications for the family's legacy and their connection to the covenant with God. By marrying outside of their faith, Esau inadvertently distanced himself from the spiritual promises that had been passed down through Abraham's lineage. His impulsiveness in choosing wives from the surrounding Canaanite nations demonstrated a pattern of behavior where immediate desires outweighed long-term considerations, a recurring theme in Esau's life. The Bible specifically notes that these marriages were a grief of mind to Isaac and Rebekah, Genesis 26:35, indicating the emotional and spiritual burden this caused. This conflict also highlighted the cultural clash between the values of Abraham's family and the surrounding pagan societies. The Hittite women likely brought with them religious practices and beliefs that were incompatible with the faith of Isaac's household, further deepening the divide between Esau and his family. Esau's marriage to Mahalath. In an effort to mend the rift caused by his earlier marriages, Esau took a third wife, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's other son. This move seemed to be an attempt by Esau to reconnect with his Abrahamic heritage after realizing the distress he had caused his parents. By marrying a descendant of Ishmael, Esau sought to align himself with a branch of the family that was still connected to the legacy of Abraham, even if Ishmael's line was not the chosen one for the covenant. Mahalath, being Ishmael's daughter, represented a closer tie to Esau's spiritual heritage, which he may have hoped would restore favor with his parents and with God. Esau's marriage to Mahalath is significant because it shows a degree of self-awareness and a desire to repair the damage done by his earlier decisions. It also underscores the complexity of Esau's character. While often seen as impulsive and reckless, this marriage reveals his capacity for reflection and his effort to honor his family's expectations after realizing the consequences of his previous actions. However, despite this attempt, the damage done by Esau's earlier marriages could not be fully undone. His union with Mahalath, while a step toward reconnecting with his family's spiritual roots, did not alter the course of his life or his separation from the chosen lineage of Jacob. Ultimately, Esau's descendants, the Edomites, would continue to live outside the covenant promises made to Isaac and Jacob, though they would remain part of the broader story of the Abrahamic family. This marriage, while a gesture of reconciliation, also reflects the ongoing tension in Esau's life between his independent choices and the heritage he was born into, but often struggled to fully embrace. 8. The patriarchal blessing and conflict. Isaac's aging and preparation. As Isaac's health begins to decline and his sight grows dim, he recognizes the weight of his role as patriarch and the importance of passing on the family blessing, a ceremonial bestowal of spiritual authority, material wealth, and divine favor that had been inherited from his father, Abraham. This blessing is not merely a gesture. It symbolizes the continuation of God's covenant promise to Abraham, extending to Isaac and then to the next generation. With the shadows of age encroaching upon him, Isaac calls for his favored son, Esau, the skilled hunter and embodiment of physical prowess. He desires to bestow upon Esau the blessings of the firstborn, riches, land, and spiritual leadership. Isaac instructs Esau to hunt and prepare a meal that he loves, an act that signifies their bond and Isaac's deep affection for him. In this moment, Isaac is unaware that the birthright, which traditionally grants such blessings, has already been traded away by Esau for a mere bowl of stew. This sets the stage for a profound conflict rooted in familial favoritism, deception, and the weight of divine prophecy. The setup for conflict. Meanwhile, Rebekah, Isaac's wife, is acutely aware of the events surrounding the birthright exchange and the divine prophecy spoken to her during her pregnancy, that the older, Esau, would serve the younger, Jacob. Driven by her desire to ensure Jacob receives the blessing intended for him, she devises a cunning plan. Recognizing the precarious nature of the situation and the potential for conflict between her sons, Rebekah takes decisive action to protect Jacob's destiny. She instructs Jacob to fetch 2 young goats from the flock so that she can prepare a savory meal that Isaac loves. In an act of clever deception, she then dresses Jacob in Esau's clothing and covers his smooth skin with the goat skins, creating a facade to disguise Jacob's identity. This transformation not only allows Jacob to physically resemble his brother, but also plays on Isaac's failing eyesight. As Jacob approaches his father, he is filled with fear and uncertainty, acutely aware of the gravity of the deception he is about to commit. He greets Isaac with feigned humility, claiming to be Esau and presenting the meal prepared by Rebekah. Isaac, puzzled but still blinded by age and love for his favorite son, questions Jacob, seeking assurance of his identity. In a tense moment of conflicting emotions and ethical dilemmas, Jacob lies to his father, assuring him that he is Esau. Isaac's skepticism rises, but the compelling aroma of the meal and the tactile deception of Jacob's disguised skin ultimately sway him. After an intimate moment of blessing, Isaac unknowingly conveys the patriarchal blessing to Jacob instead of Esau, sealing the conflict between the brothers and setting the course for future rivalry. This episode becomes pivotal in the narrative, intertwining themes of divine sovereignty, human frailty, and the complexities of family dynamics. The deception catalyzes a series of events that will lead to estrangement, fear, and eventual reconciliation, shaping the destinies of both Jacob and Esau, as well as their descendants. The act of securing the blessing for Jacob reveals the profound implications of choices made in the context of familial relationships and prophetic destinies, underscoring the themes of conflict, identity, and the search for approval that resonate throughout the biblical narrative. 9. Esau's loss and bitterness. Esau's reaction. Upon discovering that Jacob had deceitfully obtained both his birthright and his father, Isaac's blessing, Esau was consumed by a profound sense of betrayal and bitterness. The birthright, a sacred and culturally significant entitlement, represented not only material wealth, but also spiritual leadership within the family and community. Losing this birthright to Jacob, whom he viewed as a weaker and more conniving sibling, was a crushing blow to his pride and identity. Esau's response was one of raw anguish, as he grappled with feelings of anger, resentment, and a deep sense of injustice. His heartache was compounded by the realization that this loss would alter the trajectory of his life, severing him from the promises and privileges bestowed upon the firstborn son. In his distress, Esau cried out to Isaac, pleading for a blessing, only to be met with the painful acknowledgement that the blessing had already been given to Jacob. Isaac's heartfelt yet helpless response underscored the irreversible nature of Esau's loss. The weight of Esau's disappointment and the profound sense of abandonment from both his father and brother forged a bitterness that would linger throughout his life. This bitterness transformed Esau, shaping him into a figure marked by impulsiveness and a desire for retribution. The growing division. As the aftermath of this familial betrayal unfolded, the divide between Esau and Jacob deepened significantly. Esau's bitterness began to manifest not only in his feelings toward Jacob, but also in his actions and decisions. He withdrew emotionally and physically from his family, creating an ever-widening chasm that could not easily be bridged. This estrangement was not merely personal. It was laden with implications for their respective futures and the destinies of their descendants. Esau's sense of loss fueled a growing animosity that turned into a desire for vengeance. He harbored thoughts of retribution against Jacob, contemplating how he might confront his brother for the wrongs he felt had been inflicted upon him. This simmering hostility became evident in his demeanor, further alienating him from Jacob and their parents, particularly from Isaac, whose favoritism toward Jacob now stung even more sharply. The family dynamics shifted as the brothers became increasingly defined by their enmity. Rebekah, aware of Esau's growing resentment, encouraged Jacob to flee, fearing for his safety and anticipating that Esau might act on his vengeful impulses. This prompted Jacob to leave Canaan, marking the beginning of a prolonged separation that would set the stage for future conflicts between their respective lineages. In summary, Esau's loss of the birthright and blessing catalyzed a transformation from a once promising individual into a figure steeped in bitterness and resentment. The growing division between him and Jacob foreshadowed a complex legacy of rivalry, affecting not only their personal relationship, but also shaping the broader narrative of their descendants in the unfolding biblical story. X. The silent conflict and Esau's separation from the promised lineage. As the narrative unfolds, Esau's choice to move to Seir marks a significant turning point in his life and the broader biblical story. This decision is not merely a geographical shift. It symbolizes Esau's conscious separation from the lineage of promise established through his grandfather Abraham and his father Isaac. Esau's move to Seir. Following the tensions that arise between him and Jacob, especially after the birthright and blessing were taken from him, Esau decides to distance himself from the household of Isaac in Canaan. Seir, located in the mountainous region southeast of the Dead Sea, becomes his new home. This mountainous terrain offers a rugged and formidable landscape that resonates with Esau's identity as a hunter and warrior. By choosing Seir, Esau is not only seeking a place of his own, but also taking a definitive step away from the covenant blessings that are associated with Abraham's line. This geographical relocation signifies his departure from the spiritual heritage and legacy that had been promised to Isaac and his descendants. While this move allows him to carve out an independent existence, it also sets the stage for the development of a distinct lineage separate from that of Jacob, who remains tied to the covenantal promises. Establishing his own nation, Edom in Seir, Esau establishes his own nation known as Edom, which translates to red, a name that is often associated with him due to the red stew he traded for his birthright. As he settles into this new identity, Esau's leadership begins to take shape. His descendants become known as the Edomites, a people characterized by their fierce independence and warrior spirit. Esau's nation grows and flourishes, indicating that he finds success and prosperity in his new territory. This prosperity is significant, as it fulfills Isaac's prophecy that while Esau's descendants would live by the sword, they would also have a degree of autonomy and strength. The Edomites develop their own culture and identity, marked by both their connection to Esau and their distinct separation from the Israelites. Esau's prosperity and the fulfillment of prophecy. The narrative highlights a paradoxical fulfillment of Isaac's words. While Esau is distanced from the spiritual inheritance, he nonetheless experiences material prosperity and success. His descendants become formidable warriors, skilled in battle and adept at navigating the challenges of their harsh environment. This aspect of Esau's legacy often leads to conflicts with Israel, the nation formed from Jacob's line. The tensions between the Edomites and the Israelites illustrate the broader themes of sibling rivalry and the complexities of familial relationships that run throughout the biblical narrative. As both nations grow, their destinies become intertwined, often marked by conflict and competition. The Edomites' existence stands as a testament to Esau's strength and resilience, yet also serves as a reminder of the consequences of his choices to sever ties with the covenant promise. In summary, Esau's move to Seir signifies a profound shift in his life, establishing his own identity and nation apart from the Abrahamic covenant. The prosperity he finds in Edom underscores the complexities of legacy and destiny, intertwining his story with that of Jacob and the future of their respective descendants. 11th. Reconciliation with Jacob. As Jacob approaches Canaan after years of living in exile, a sense of dread fills him. He recalls the tension and bitterness that defined his relationship with his twin brother Esau. Their last encounter was marked by deep animosity. Jacob had deceived their father, Isaac, to steal the blessing that rightfully belonged to Esau. This act of betrayal had driven Jacob away, fearing Esau's wrath. Now, as he prepares to return home, Jacob is haunted by the possibility of revenge. He imagines Esau confronting him with fury, seeking retribution for the injustices he had suffered. In the days leading up to their meeting, Jacob takes measures to appease Esau. He divides his family and possessions into groups, hoping that if Esau attacks one group, the others might escape. He sends gifts ahead, including livestock and servants, as a gesture of goodwill. These offerings are meant to soften Esau's heart, but Jacob's anxiety remains palpable. He wrestles with his emotions, feeling the weight of his past misdeeds and the uncertainty of his brother's response. The moment of their reunion arrives, and it unfolds in an unexpected manner. As Jacob approaches, he sees Esau coming towards him, flanked by 400 men. His heart races with fear, but as Esau draws near, Jacob humbles himself, bowing to the ground 7 times in reverence. To Jacob's astonishment, Esau does not react with anger. Instead, he runs to Jacob, embraces him and kisses him, weeping tears of relief and joy. The emotional reunion is a profound moment of forgiveness as the two brothers, once estranged by conflict, come together in a display of love and reconciliation. Esau's surprising capacity for forgiveness reveals his character growth during their time apart. Rather than seeking revenge, he expresses a willingness to move past the pain of their shared history. This moment signifies a significant transformation for both brothers. Jacob sheds his fears and guilt, while Esau exemplifies nobility and generosity. As they begin to exchange words, Jacob offers Esau the gifts he had prepared. However, Esau, demonstrating a spirit of generosity, declines the gifts initially. He insists that he has enough and does not need anything from Jacob, emphasizing that their reunion itself is more valuable than any material offering. This act of rejecting the gifts symbolizes Esau's emotional maturity and ability to rise above past grievances. He prioritizes their relationship over material wealth, showcasing a depth of character that highlights his growth as a person. The reconciliation serves as a pivotal moment in their lives, illustrating the themes of forgiveness and the power of familial bonds. Jacob, once driven by fear and deception, experiences a profound transformation through Esau's grace, setting the stage for a renewed relationship built on understanding and mutual respect. This reunion not only resolves their personal conflict, but also foreshadows the complicated yet enduring relationship between their descendants, shaping the future of 2 nations, Israel and Edom. 12th, the diverging paths of Esau and Jacob. As the narrative of Esau and Jacob unfolds, their lives take increasingly divergent paths that reflect both their personal choices and the divine prophecies spoken over them. After the tense and pivotal moment of reconciliation, Esau returns to his homeland, the mountainous region of Seir. This geographical choice represents not only a physical separation from his brother, but also a symbolic departure from the covenantal blessings and promises associated with the land of Canaan. Seir, a rugged and wild terrain, aligns with Esau's character as a man of the fields, a skilled hunter and a rugged individualist. This environment allows him to thrive and establish himself as a leader among his people, the Edomites. Esau's decision to settle in Seir highlights his independence and desire to forge his own legacy, separate from the spiritual lineage that flows through Jacob. In contrast, Jacob remains in Canaan, the land promised to Abraham and his descendants. Canaan symbolizes not only a physical territory, but also a spiritual and covenantal inheritance. Jacob's continued presence in this land signifies his acceptance of the divine call upon his life, as he embraces the responsibilities and blessings of being part of the Abrahamic covenant. His journey involves personal growth and transformation, as he becomes a patriarch of the Israelite nation, nurturing a legacy intertwined with divine purpose. The spiritual divergence between Esau and Jacob is further illustrated in the distinct destinies of their descendants. The Edomites, descended from Esau, establish a powerful kingdom, yet they often find themselves in conflict with the Israelites, who are descendants of Jacob. This tension between Edom and Israel foreshadows larger national struggles that will define the history of these two peoples. Throughout biblical history, the relationship between Edom and Israel is marked by rivalry and conflict. The Edomites are frequently depicted as adversaries to Israel, with battles and disputes arising over territory and resources. This animosity is rooted in their familial connection, where the bonds of blood are overshadowed by the consequences of choices made by their forefathers. The diverging paths of Esau and Jacob serve as a profound illustration of how personal decisions can lead to vastly different destinies. Esau's choice to seek independence and live in a land apart from his brother shapes the identity of the Edomites, who become known for their strength and resilience, but also for their hostility toward Israel. Jacob, on the other hand, remains closely tied to the spiritual legacy of his ancestors, shaping the future of the Israelites and their relationship with God. In this broader narrative, the contrasting paths of Esau and Jacob resonate with themes of choice, destiny, and the fulfillment of divine promises. Their stories remind us of the importance of recognizing the impact of our decisions, not only on our own lives, but also on future generations, as the ripples of their choices continue to influence the unfolding narrative of their descendants. 13th. Esau's legacy, Esau's complexity. Esau is often characterized by his impulsive nature, marked by decisions made in haste, such as trading his birthright for a momentary meal. This choice exemplifies a tendency to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term consequences, a trait that frequently leads to conflict and regret. However, beneath this impulsiveness lies a multifaceted character capable of great nobility and strength. Esau demonstrates forgiveness and reconciliation when he encounters Jacob after years of estrangement. Rather than seeking revenge for the betrayal that cost him both his birthright and his father's blessing, Esau embraces Jacob, symbolizing a profound capacity for forgiveness. This act of kindness not only highlights Esau's emotional depth, but also reflects his growth as a person, showcasing his ability to rise above past grievances. His leadership qualities are further evident in the way he establishes himself in Seir, where he becomes a prominent figure, leading a nation that flourishes despite its historical tensions with Israel. Edom's role in history. The legacy of Esau extends beyond his personal story to the nation of Edom, founded by his descendants. Edom emerges as a significant player in biblical history, with a rich and complex narrative interwoven with that of Israel. The Edomites prosper and establish a powerful society, often marked by fierce independence and a warrior ethos. They become skilled in trade and mining, particularly in the regions of red sandstone hills, known for their natural resources. Throughout the biblical narrative, Edom is frequently in conflict with Israel. The tensions arise from both historical grievances and territorial disputes, as the two nations share a tumultuous relationship characterized by alternating periods of hostility and cooperation. The prophetic writings often reflect these dynamics, depicting Edom both as a formidable opponent and as a nation that, at times, faces divine judgment for its actions against Israel. Edom's legacy is further complicated by its interactions with surrounding nations and its eventual assimilation into larger empires, which leads to a decline in its distinct identity. Nevertheless, the story of Esau and Edom remains a poignant reminder of the complexities of familial relationships, the consequences of choices, and the enduring impact of individual actions on the course of history. Through Esau's life and the subsequent fate of the Edomites, themes of conflict, forgiveness, and the search for identity resonate throughout biblical narratives, offering lessons that extend beyond their immediate historical context. Themes and reflections. The consequences of choices. Esau's life is a profound illustration of how personal choices resonate through generations. His decision to marry Hittite women, for instance, brought significant sorrow to his parents, Isaac and Rebekah. This choice not only strained familial relationships, but also created a cultural rift, as the Hittites represented a lineage outside of Abraham's covenant with God. The bitterness stemming from these unions had long-lasting effects, leading to a legacy marked by conflict between his descendants and those of Jacob. Esau's impulsivity in prioritizing immediate desires over long-term implications serves as a cautionary tale about the far-reaching consequences of one's choices, affecting not just the individual but entire family lineages and nations. Struggle between independence and heritage. Esau embodies a complex struggle between his desire for autonomy and a longing to remain connected to his heritage. His marriages and subsequent move to Seir symbolize a quest for independence, seeking to establish his identity apart from Jacob and the covenantal line of promise. Yet this pursuit also brings forth an internal conflict, as Esau grapples with the implications of stepping away from his Abrahamic roots. Despite his achievements and the establishment of the Edomite nation, Esau's journey reflects a yearning for acknowledgement of his place within the broader narrative of God's covenant. This duality, of seeking personal freedom while navigating familial obligations, illustrates the tension many face when balancing individual aspirations with inherited legacies. The impact of family dynamics. The intricate dynamics within Esau's family highlight how seemingly small decisions can dramatically shape destinies, relationships, and even national identities. The favoritism displayed by Isaac towards Esau and Rebekah's inclination towards Jacob created a rift that not only affected their immediate relationships but also set the stage for future conflicts. Esau's choices regarding marriage and his eventual estrangement from Jacob can be traced back to these early family dynamics. The repercussions of parental preferences, marital alliances, and sibling rivalries underscore the importance of healthy family relationships. These factors not only influence individual lives, but also mold the trajectories of entire peoples, as the rivalry between the descendants of Esau and Jacob evolves into a significant historical narrative that impacts the course of Israel's history. 15th. Esau in religious tradition. In both Jewish and Christian traditions, Esau is often portrayed in a complex light, primarily as a foil to his brother Jacob. This portrayal has led to a largely negative reputation for Esau, characterized by his impulsiveness and loss of the birthright, which is often seen as a metaphor for spiritual failure. However, a deeper examination reveals moments of nobility and forgiveness that add nuance to his character. Jewish tradition. In Jewish tradition, Esau is frequently viewed through the lens of moral and ethical lessons. He is seen as the archetype of someone who, despite his shortcomings, possesses redeeming qualities. The Talmud and other rabbinic writings emphasize Esau's physical strength and hunting prowess, attributes that symbolize vitality and worldly success. However, his choice to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term spiritual legacy, as seen in his impulsive sale of the birthright for a meal, is critiqued. Nevertheless, Jewish thought also acknowledges Esau's role in the broader narrative of redemption. He is depicted as a figure capable of change and growth. For instance, his eventual reconciliation with Jacob is viewed as a powerful moment of forgiveness and family unity, highlighting the potential for healing in fractured relationships. This reconciliation is celebrated in Jewish tradition, illustrating that despite past grievances, there is room for compassion and understanding. Christian tradition. In Christian interpretations, Esau's narrative is often seen in the context of the New Testament's themes of grace and redemption. While Esau is typically compared unfavorably to Jacob, who is favored by God and considered a patriarch of Israel, there is recognition of Esau's humanity and his struggles. Some Christian theologians emphasize Esau's experiences as reflective of broader themes in Scripture, such as the importance of humility, repentance, and the possibility of redemption. Esau's forgiving nature during the reunion with Jacob is highlighted as an embodiment of Christ-like forgiveness, suggesting that even those who seem to stray can find a path back to grace. This perspective encourages believers to recognize that, like Esau, they too can overcome their past mistakes and embrace a future filled with mercy and reconciliation. Conclusion. Ultimately, while Esau is often cast in a negative light when compared to Jacob, both Jewish and Christian traditions recognize his complexity as a character. His story serves as a reminder of the intricate interplay between choices and consequences, the struggle between worldly desires and spiritual inheritance, and the power of forgiveness. Esau's legacy, therefore, is not solely one of loss, but also of resilience, redemption, and the potential for a positive transformation in the face of adversity. 16th. Universal lessons, legacy, and spiritual inheritance. At the heart of Esau and Jacob's narrative lies the profound theme of legacy and spiritual inheritance. The story illustrates the significance of what we pass down to future generations, whether it be material wealth, spiritual values, or life lessons. The choices made by Esau and Jacob serve as a powerful reminder of how these decisions can reverberate through time, shaping the destinies of entire families and communities. Esau's impulsive decision to sell his birthright for immediate gratification highlights the dangers of prioritizing short-term desires over long-term benefits. In contrast, Jacob's strategic thinking, although morally questionable, reflects a deep understanding of the value of the blessings that come with being the firstborn. This contrast invites us to consider our own choices carefully, urging us to reflect on how our actions today can influence the future of those who come after us. Healing and reconciliation. The tumultuous relationship between Esau and Jacob also offers insights into the possibility of healing and reconciliation, even amidst deep familial wounds. Their story emphasizes that while conflicts can lead to profound divisions, there remains an opportunity for understanding and forgiveness. Esau's eventual willingness to forgive Jacob, despite the pain caused by the loss of his birthright and blessing, is a powerful testament to the potential for restoring broken relationships. This aspect of their journey encourages us to seek reconciliation in our own lives, reminding us that healing is possible when we approach one another with humility and a willingness to let go of past grievances. The narrative illustrates how love and forgiveness can bridge the gaps created by betrayal, leading to renewed connections and understanding among family members. Lasting significance. The lasting significance of Esau's story transcends its historical context, serving as a poignant reminder of the complexities of human experience. It captures the essence of our struggles with identity, choice, and consequence. Esau's life encapsulates the theme of regret and the inherent unpredictability of human nature, showcasing how impulsive decisions can lead to lifelong ramifications. At the same time, it highlights the notion that our choices are not made in isolation. They are influenced by our relationships, desires, and the larger narrative of our lives. This intricate tapestry of human experience invites us to reflect on our own journeys, urging us to recognize the weight of our decisions and their potential to shape not only our destinies, but also the destinies of those around us. Ultimately, Esau and Jacob's story serves as a mirror, prompting us to examine our own lives and the legacies we wish to leave behind, reminding us that the narratives we create through our choices will echo through generations to come. 17th. Conclusion. Esau and Jacob's legacy. The story of Esau and Jacob stands as a profound narrative about choices, familial dynamics, and the unfolding of destiny. Their legacy profoundly impacts not only their immediate descendants, but also the larger narrative of the nations of Israel and Edom. Esau, often portrayed as impulsive and careless, embodies the consequences of decisions made in haste. His disregard for the birthright illustrates how fleeting desires can overshadow significant long-term inheritances. His establishment of the Edomite nation reflects a lineage that would often stand in opposition to Israel, illustrating the complex nature of familial relationships and their geopolitical ramifications. Jacob, on the other hand, represents the pursuit of spiritual and material inheritance, albeit through contentious means. His journey from a shrewd younger brother to the revered patriarch of Israel demonstrates the transformative power of choices and the willingness to embrace divine destiny. The name change from Jacob to Israel symbolizes a profound spiritual metamorphosis, showcasing how one can rise from the shadows of deceit to become a leader of a chosen nation. The conflicting paths of these two brothers shape their descendants' identities, marking a continual struggle between the values and legacies they left behind. Reflections on destiny. The interplay of prophecy and free will in the story of Esau and Jacob offers a rich tapestry for reflection on the nature of destiny. The prophecy that the older would serve the younger sets the stage for the unfolding drama, but it is the characters' choices that ultimately shape the narrative's outcome. This duality highlights a fundamental aspect of human existence. While divine prophecies may lay the groundwork for future events, it is the free will exercised by individuals that molds the path they follow. Esau's decisions reflect a life lived in the moment, prioritizing immediate gratification over long-term significance, which led to a fractured relationship with his family and a legacy marked by conflict. Jacob's choices, while sometimes morally ambiguous, demonstrate a drive toward realizing his divine purpose, illustrating how the pursuit of destiny can be fraught with ethical dilemmas. In a broader sense, the intersection of prophecy and free will serves as a reminder that every choice carries weight, shaping not just personal futures, but the trajectories of entire peoples and nations. The narratives of Esau and Jacob resonate across generations, encouraging individuals to reflect on their own decisions, the legacies they will leave, and how their lives contribute to the larger human story. Through their legacy, we see the lasting impact of choices, reminding us that while destiny may be foretold, it is the choices we make that define our journey and the stories that we leave behind.